Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 4022. Today's date is 26th April 2026. It's been almost like a night at 12:36 a.m. By the way, this Artifact episode is belong to the 25 April, but because of the delay of recording Artifact, that's why I'm recording after midnight. By the way, why this actually delay actually happened is because of that. Ki Okay, let me tell you one thing where I live. So, I live exactly next to the Vihar. What's a Vihar? Vihar is a kind of like a semi religious place. It's a kind of like a mandir. A temple would be kind of like much more better, but temple would be associate more towards kind of like a Hindu community. Vihar is kind of like a represent to kind of like a something like Buddhist community. Okay, yeah. And my home is next to Vihar, literally next to Vihar. Okay. And usually today is Kavali. Now, what's a Kavali? Kavali is a kind of like a somewhat something a a religious event, probably kind of like a bhajan or kind of like a something like that. Okay, yeah, like they are kind of like singing, praying, things and that mixture of that. Okay, yeah, and they are kind of like a singing for almost like a 3-4 hour non-stop. Okay, yeah. So they started this Kavali. Okay, yeah, at almost like 8 p.m. It ended now. Yeah, just 12:30 p.m. Okay, yeah. So obviously, and because of it is so close to my house, I can't even listen what I'm saying. How do I supposed to record Artifact? Okay, so that's why I was kind of like waiting for when it's supposed to be end, and right now it's end. So right now I'm kind of like a recording Artifact. By the way, all the guests are went away. Okay, there are just people who are kind of like a try to kind of like simply just pack up everything, whatever. Okay, yeah. So let's just jump into the question. All right, let's go. All right. So the question is, wait, oh, how will content will recommend uh, to the user without user data? Oh, that's a really good question. Okay, without user data, well, okay. First of all, let me kind of like tell you what exactly is this thing, what exactly is this question, and why am I asking this question to myself. I wanted to build an app called My Artifact app. Now, what exactly is this app? Like when you wrote the diary, there is a kind of like a problem happen. You can't wrote the diary the way that you want to write the diary. Okay, what? Like basically, okay, I'm just like like basically it's this thing. Even if you are not wrote the diary or if you're not doing journaling, there is a kind of like a problem that I'm trying to tell you. Okay, yeah. So when you do journaling or when you do writing your diary and things and that, you cannot wrote the diary the way that you wanted to. Because of that, there is a lot of constraint. Because the way that you write is kind of like a much more very less in speed the way that you think. Okay, yeah. Because you think very fast, but you can't write that fast. So you can't kind of like do that journaling like you can't do that. Okay, so I thought that what if we could kind of like simply change the methodology. Instead of writing a journal, what if we could record the journal? Okay, yeah. Record journal means like audio recording. Okay, yeah. Like, yeah. So I call them as a artifact. This is a kind of like a thing that you are listening right now. This is my artifact. My artifact episode number 4022. I have been doing this thing for every single day for last 11 year, and because of this recording artifact, it add so much amount of value inside of myself. I am improve in much more better way. The person that I will become, the person that I am today, and that person I will gonna become today all and all is actually happen is because of artifact. Okay, yeah. I realize that the amount of value that I'm getting, I need to share this technicality to the people, so that people should supposed to be take the more and more value from this artifact. So I wanted to build this application called Artifact. Now, my app is a kind of like a simply YouTube platform. It's a kind of like a thing that na, ki people will record their artifact. Like it's a kind of like a YouTube platform. Okay, let me explain what exactly is this thing. So in the YouTube platform, you can upload your video, other people see your video. It's kind of like a same. You record your artifact, upload your artifact in my platform, my artifact. Okay, yeah. Other people will kind of like a listen your artifact. Okay, yeah. It's kind of like that. But there is a change. Okay, yeah. I am kind of like a providing the privacy so that user will not gonna know who is exactly the real person and things and that. Like yeah, like my basically is this thing. My name, my real name is a Saurabh Authare, but my artifact handle name would be Prozac 1943 or Jackson 43 to maintain my privacy. Okay, yeah. Privacy is very much essential because it is kind of like a feel really like a, basically is this thing na the like I already mentioned regarding about multiple time regarding about privacy, but still again is this thing that ki you can't express yourself. Like basically is this thing, let's just imagine you can't speak clearly in front of hundreds of people, right? But what if you can speak clearly behind any kind of like a curtain or things and that curtain is the privacy that I'm providing to you. That other user will kind of like listen your artifact, but they will not gonna see you because the curtain is actually in between them, in between you and that people. That curtain is that privacy. Okay, so this is kind of like a privacy that I'm providing. Now this is all my app. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing that ki I wanted to build this application and I know that there are so many challenges I will gonna face. I need to understand what kind of like a consequences I will gonna face right now building this application. So I went to ChatGPT, kind of like I said that ki this is my idea, this is my app, this is all those things. Suggest me at least like 100 questions so that what kind of like a consequences will I face and how do I suppose to solve that thing. So ChatGPT kind of like a suggest me 100 question. This is one of those question. Now, regarding about those question, okay, the question says, how will content be recommended without user data? Okay, so what exactly is this question? Now, basically, this question is that ki when the user will listening artifact, there are millions of artifact. Okay, yeah. How should you supposed to be cater them? How should you like basically when they open their app, when they open their application, what kind of like artifact that appear on their home screen? If you're not really understanding, let me simplify it. Okay, with YouTube example. Okay, yeah. Now YouTube application is a kind of like a somewhat something same. The way that I'm kind of like a using my application and way that you are using application, the entire UI is a kind of like a same. But the video that kind of like a scene on your feed is completely different than the video is actually seen on my feed. Because let me tell you one thing, when I open my YouTube platform, it kind of like a recommend me history videos, it kind of like a recommend me tech video, it kind of like a recommend me filmmaking videos, it kind of like a recommend me photography videos. Same goes with the Instagram. When I open the Instagram, these are kind of like a particular topic of content that I am seeing on my feed. Why? Because of that I love this kind of like a something watching those content, and your social media platform knows that what kind of like a person that I am, and they are kind of like a feeding me such piece of content that I love to like, right? Yeah. So this is what kind of like a somebody catering the content. Okay, yeah. first of all, let's just understand why does kind of like a YouTube and social media platform do that. Okay, well, it's because of that earning money. Okay, let me tell you one thing, that key, when I open the YouTube platform and when I see a kind of like a new phone, the new phone recently launched is a Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra. This is the new phone launch, and there is a MKBHD who kind of like made a review video about that phone. I am really interested in this phone. I am really geeky person too. So I click that video. I watch that video. Okay, yeah. So basically, when I watch that video, I am kind of like getting the information because I am geeky and things and that, as well as YouTube is actually earning money from myself. How? YouTube is kind of like a showing ads to me right now. I am not kind of like a simply like a paying any kind of like a premium or things and that's why YouTube kind of like a showing me advertisement. Some ads I can skip, some ad I can't. Okay, yeah, but whatever it is, okay, yeah, these are ads are kind of like a 2 3 10 second. Okay, yeah, sometime I watch, sometime I skip. Okay, but from this thing YouTube actually earn money. So basically what is actually is this thing, the YouTube or any kind of like a social media company, they are earning money by showing the advertisement to the user. When those and how those kind of like advertisement will kind of like showing to the user by kind of like recommend such a piece of content that they love to watch. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing, cooking video. Will I able to be watch cooking video? No, I am not really interested in cooking video. Why do I supposed to watch the cooking video? Okay, yeah. So if the YouTube recommend me a cooking video, I will not gonna watch the cooking video. And if I'm not gonna watch the video, how would kind of like ads will kind of like a showing to me? And if the ad is not showing to me, how the social media will gonna earn money, right? So social media are kind of like a very much essential to need money, and that's why they wanted that their user should supposed to stay in their platform, use there and listen there or watch their content. Okay, so that kind of like ads will run and they will kind of like earn money. Okay, yeah, so that's why they need user data. Okay, yeah. Now what's the user data? User data means like that na ki user will not kind of like providing data. No, like I didn't really put that ki I like this piece of content or this piece of content. No, it's just like that na ki YouTube understand me, like a amount of information or amount of video that I watched in previously. YouTube cater that information. YouTube knows that information, what kind of like a video I love to watch, what kind of like a video and things and that. It kind of like understand my taste and it kind of like recommend me a kind of like a content. Okay, yeah. So basically I have to be asked this question to myself, that I am building this application called My Artifact. User will kind of like come and they will kind of like listen the artifact. Okay, yeah. So basically I have to be kind of like take the information from the user, like what kind of like a user, which kind of like artifact they love to listen. Okay, yeah, like angry, sad or things and that. Basically is this thing, My Artifact is kind of like how it's a kind of like some YouTube na, like I already mentioned hundreds of time. Okay, yeah, my application, My Artifact, is kind of like a YouTube is a kind of like a bit more refined. Okay, yeah, but kind of like Artifact is kind of like a bit more raw and things and that, very emotional driven. Okay, yeah, things and that. Okay, so there is a one advantage that I'm kind of like somebody I have. Okay, yeah, because of YouTube is a kind of like a far much more refined, there is a kind of like a some place this thing, there is a little bit of less raw thing. Okay, yeah, but my application is a kind of like a bit more raw, unfiltered. So when it's raw and unfiltered, it is kind of like a likely to humans or likely user are connect more. Why? Okay, let me tell you something. Let's just say there is a kind of like a particular user who kind of like record an artifact regarding about how he got breakup. He mentioned everything. Now basically this is the real user with a real event, with exactly thing actually happened with him, and he kind of like mention everything. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: in social media platform, we I kind of like some is this thing that we just kind of like add something kind of like a creamy layer to tell a story. What's a creamy layer? Like a okay, let me kind of like understand. Okay, so let's just say is this thing, your life is kind of like a somebody, let's just say you are driving a car. Okay, you are driving a car. Okay, yeah, and your road is a kind of like up down up down up down up down. Sometimes it just kind of like a road is so messy, so fuck and things and that. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing, the road is a kind of like a very things and that. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing, someone kind of like a somebody at the end of the road, there is a person who is a kind of like a somebody holding a camera and kind of like a pointed towards at you and kind of like a said, how is your road? You might gonna say the road is like a really not so good. Yeah, like it is kind of like a really fuck. Okay, yeah, like my back pain is actually hurting, but yes. Okay, yeah. So that is called kind of like a somebody is this thing that key adding a layer. Like basically you do criticize about the road, but little less. Yeah, little less. And why you kind of like a somebody do little less criticism is because of that particular person holding a camera. Okay, yeah. You are kind of like identity kind of like represent and things and that. But what if next scenario you're driving the same road and things and that, but in this particular context there is no camera, just a random person kind of like somebody holding the mic and says, how is your experience? Then he was kind of like a say, dude, what the fuck was that road, dude? Like basically every single time there is a pothole, there is a kind of like upside down, the road is kind of like a so fuck, dude, my tire got punctured, everything is kind of like a messed up. Let's just kind of like, I don't want to drive this thing, like literally I just wanted to like a cry at the middle of the road. So this is what actually happened when you kind of like a change the catering thing. Okay, yeah. Like when you hold the camera, there is a pressure actually added to the people that they should supposed to be behave nicely. That is called creamy layer, and this creamy layer is actually kind of like assembly available in social media platform, specifically on Instagram platform. Instagram platform, people are kind of like uploading their content very flashy, very creamy, very stylish. Okay, yeah. Like you might found a kind of like a very less photo of kind of like a raw or very kind of like a some blur photo or very like there is very less photo of those. Always such a photo are kind of like a, such a fashionable aesthetic and things and that. But real life is not aesthetic. Real life is not really that beautiful. Okay, yeah. So that's what artifact comes from. Artifact is not aesthetic because there is no aesthetic, there is no visual aesthetic representation come from the visuals, nah? But there is no visual at all, just audio. Okay, yeah. So audio kind of like somebody represent that authentic, that rawness. Okay, yeah. And that rawness people will kind of like connect more. Okay, so that's kind of like an advantage that I have. Another thing, okay, yeah. Yes, my app does have an advertisement. As I mentioned, it's kind of like a somebody YouTube. Okay, yeah. It kind of like a showcase the advertisement. Okay, yeah. Now basically is this thing that key okay, first of all, why are you kind of like showing the advertisement? Okay, yeah. Well, I have to be. Okay, yeah. I have to be run this business. I have to be earn money. How do I supposed to be earn money? Right? The only way possible to kind of like a showing the advertisement. Then probably is this thing that's the kind of like a very much essential. Now another thing is that most of people kind of like a think that advertisement is completely wrong, but that is not. Advertisement is kind of like a very right thing. Okay, you don't really understand the importance of advertisement from user point of perspective. Yes, it's kind of like a very bit annoying, but kind of like a try to understand from kind of like a somebody a kind of like a, let's just say, a owner point of perspective, or kind of like a thing is that now product point of perspective. Like basically is this thing, there is a new phone launched, Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra, and they wanted to market that phone. Okay, yeah. So they need to kind of like a showcase the advertisement. Okay, yeah. Now basically Samsung is a very big company. Obviously they would find a kind of like a so many kind of like a assembly advertisements, more advertisement slots available in TVs or kind of like a some social media platform and things and that. But what if the small kind of like a businessman, they need to kind of like assembly market their product, but they can't afford that much kind of like a big things and that. Okay, yeah. So basically, is this thing, these are kind of like advertisement, are kind of like a very little bit of mouth publicity. It kind of like add little bit value in their product. People would supposed to buy that because marketing is somewhat something really essential. So basically, what I'm saying is that from user point of perspective, advertisement is kind of like a bit more annoyed, but from business point of perspective, it is very much essential because when you add the advertisement, when you add the advertisement, as I can also earn money, as well as other businessmen also can earn money and kind of like somebody get the value, and as also user can also get the value too. Like basically is this thing how, let's just say is this thing that ki I am filmmaker, like I'm not like basically I love filmmaking video, and there is a kind of like a advertisement pop up that Canon new phone, okay, Canon new camera, like a R5U, okay, so basically what is actually happened right now, I will not gonna buy the Canon phone, right? But when I wanted to buy this kind of like a Canon R5 is actually in my image, actually in my brain, because I seen that advertisement. So somehow when I wanted to buy a kind of like a somebody camera, I will kind of like a went to buy Canon R5, right? So this is what it is. Like it add value to everybody. It add value to me. It add value to the kind of like a business person. It add value to the user and things and that. Just kind of like a change according. Like not every ads are meant for everybody. Categorize each ad according to the different cater of the people. This is I will gonna do to kind of like a something is this thing. So that's why in my application I will have a kind of like a something is this thing that the ads will kind of like a shown. Okay, yeah. Now if you are kind of like a particular person that you don't want to see any kind of like advertisement, there is a kind of like a some feature called premium. Okay, yeah. You can monthly premium something and you will kind of like a add less experience, like add, like you didn't really get any kind of like advertisement. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing, advertisement is kind of like a very much essential for my business too. So yeah, there is a kind of like a advertisement. Now there is also another problem. Okay, yeah, is that key my platform is a audio based platform. There is no video at all. People are kind of like a recording audio artifact. Okay, yeah. So advertisement are bit more kind of like a basically is this thing that key like a getting very less amount of money. Let me kind of like a tell you. Let's just say there is a kind of like a Canon company. Okay, yeah. And Canon company have a kind of like a launch a new camera, Canon R5. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like a some camera. Okay, yeah. And they kind of like a made ad. So because of my platform is a audio based platform, so basically it's this thing, they only can kind of like simply cater their advertisement into the audio. Okay, so let me tell you one thing, the video advertisement is a kind of like a something much more higher than audio advertisement. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, that key Canon will kind of like a pay YouTube $10 million, but to me it kind of like a pay me like a $7 or $8 million. Why? Because YouTube is a kind of like a video and audio based platform, but Artifact is just a audio based platform. So there is no video engagement at all. So that's why it has a kind of like a very less amount of money as compared to other social media platform, right? Whatever, I will not gonna talk about the advertisement and things and that. These are kind of like a very different thing. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about the kind of like a how does kind of like a somebody content, or how does kind of like artifact recommend to the people? Okay, yeah. So same thing. Okay, yeah. Like basically, I will understand the kind of like assembly. Okay, first of all, let me kind of like things that what kind of like assembly things that I don't want that people should supposed to be listen. First of all, my artifact, this artifact platform, people will kind of like record their artifact. Okay, yeah. And obviously this is raw, this is unfiltered, and because of this raw and unfiltered, people will gonna talk shit. That is true. 10 out of almost like a 7 or 6 artifact episode are just talking shit and things and that and that. So in that context, I have to be kind of like simply have particular judgment system. Okay, yeah. I already mentioned regarding about judgmental system, but still again I mention. Okay, yeah. So basically it's this thing that each artifact episode is actually judged by the 70% people and 25-30% of the algorithm. Okay, yeah. So 70% people judge by the like, dislike, and average view duration. Okay, yeah. Or average watch time. Okay. And the Adam, like Adam means my algorithm, is actually judged by the exactly how much kind of like a something right, and how much it kind of like impact to the people and things and that and that. Let's just say a particular person who kind of like a recording artifact regarding about he fuck two girl at the same time, and he kind of like mentioned that I went there, he did this thing, he did that, and he did that. Probably he did in real life. Okay, yeah, and he kind of like a record that thing. Now basically people might gonna say you are really stirred and things and that. People are kind of like a giving the kind of like a something that key like button a lot, but that is not right, because like this is behavior of artifact is a kind of like a something that key creating disturbance in the society, because when that artifact is listened to hundreds of people, they will kind of like encourage more to do the same thing. Like they will try to do a kind of like a do a sex like that, like a do a sex two girl at the same time, I don't know. Okay, yeah. So this create a kind of like a very wrong message to the society. Okay, and I don't want my platform is meant for that. Okay, yeah. Obviously you can record, I am kind of like a giving you freedom that you can express yourself what is actually happened, things and that. But basically every artifact is actually judged by this judgmental system. When you are kind of like did something really wrong, even if people are kind of like give the like button that oh you are really stirred and things and that, Adam kind of like gives you completely wrong. Like basically is this thing, both are have a kind of like a score based system. Okay, yeah. 70% of the people, how much like and dislike and how much watch duration, it get the score. Let's just take this kind of like example where this particular person recorded artifact regarding about he fucked two girl at the same time, and he kind of like a record how this actually happened. Okay, yeah. So people kind of like give them like you are stirred and things and that and that and that. So basically is this thing, it gets score like that 70%. In that 70% people are kind of like get the score 10 out of maybe 7. Okay, yeah, which is somewhat something higher. But Adam gives you 10 out of 1. Okay, that 30% represented by the Adam gives a score 10 out of 1. Okay, yeah. And combine that thing, it kind of like a score 10 out of maybe kind of like a something 5 or 6. So which is kind of like a little less number, which kind of like a little less recommendation to the people. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, yeah. Ki you can express everything, but if your thoughts or if your artifact or whatever you are kind of like a recording, it's kind of like a somebody taking damage to the society, I will not gonna recommend your artifact to the more and more people, because it's ethically wrong. Okay, yeah. And I don't want my platform should supposed to be kind of like a people talk shit and things and that, because it add so much, so many wrong in so many levels. Okay, because artifact kind of like a went directly inside of you. So obviously I don't want that. Okay, yeah. You can record, I'm kind of like a giving you free to express, but still your dirty artifact will not gonna recommend to the people. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: how does kind of like somebody you okay, this is kind of like a things that I wanted to prevent, that user shouldn't supposed to be kind of like a listen such a wrong artifact, or maybe they will try to listen very less of those wrong artifact. Okay, yeah, less. Okay, I will try to push kind of like a simply such a artifact which kind of like a add value in them. Because let me tell you one thing now, when I'm recording artifact, it adds so much amount of value. So that's what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, that ki if you are kind of like a recording artifact regarding about personal development, self-reflection, things and that, it's kind of like a somebody making sure that artifact should supposed to be add value. That means it kind of like a recommend to the more and more people, and it kind of like add the positive influence to the society and things and that. Okay, that is the one thing. Another thing, maybe I am completely wrong. Okay, why? Because of that na, ki my first choice is that ki people should supposed to be open the application to record the artifact, not to listen the artifact. Like this is I want people should supposed to be record the artifact, not listen the artifact. Okay, why am I kind of like saying this thing? Because let me tell you one thing na, when you talk more with yourself, you improve yourself much more better than listening someone's artifact. Yeah, like basically I wanted that people should supposed to be record artifact, not listen artifact. Okay, yeah, and even if you're trying to listen, you are kind of like getting this kind of like a self-reflection values and things and that. Okay, yeah, I wanted user to record artifact more than listen the artifact. Okay, so and it will definitely gonna happen, because recording artifact is kind of like a far more easier to do, far more convenient at that you do. Like basically right now I'm actually holding mobile phone and kind of like a talking, okay, yeah, on walking on rooftop and talking like this and that, which is kind of like a far more convenient for me to record artifact. I want that. I want people should supposed to be record artifact more than listen artifact. Okay, but there is also another question arise, that if the people who are kind of like a recording the artifact, and when they will not gonna listen the artifact, how I will gonna earn money? Because I will gonna earn money because when the people will kind of like listen the artifact, and from the advertisement I will gonna earn money, right? Well, yeah, that is true. Yeah, like if you are kind of like a recording artifact, then how do I supposed to be earn money? Because there is no advertisement is kind of like shown in between, right? Yeah, that is true. So like you might kind of like assembly like you will not gonna earn money. I am acceptable to, like basically I don't really think that na ki, like I don't know how do I supposed to explain. Like I wanted that ki whatever the value that artifact add in me, I want that ki that exact value add in you, because you don't know how much it add value. Like basically is this thing, the person I was before and person I am today is because of artifact, and there are so much massive changes are actually happened inside of me because of artifact, because of recording artifact, not listening artifact. Let me tell you the something. Okay, I did record almost like a 4,000. This is my 4,022 artifact. Almost like a 4,000 of recorded artifact that I have, which is also uploaded on YouTube platform. And honestly, I'm gonna tell you how many artifact did I listen? None. Literally, maybe kind of like a one or maybe two. Okay, yeah, because like let me tell you one thing. I haven't really listened my artifact. Okay, yeah, this is what it is. This is what kind of like a somewhat something true. Okay, because most of the time I just record the artifact, and I want that. I wanted to people record artifact more than listen artifact. Okay, because when you record the artifact, you connect with yourself. When you listen the artifact, you connect with some random stranger, and that random stranger is kind of like a became your reality or things and that, because you resonate with them and things and that, right? So basically instead of that, connect with yourself, na? Record the artifact. When you record artifact, you connect with yourself, you know more about yourself, you improve yourself much more better. That's what I want. Now regarding about the content recommendation, I will gonna make sure that I will recommend such a piece of content that it should supposed to be add value in you. Okay, yeah. As also is this thing recommendation of content, like a recommendation of artifact, like which kind of like artifact will I supposed to be recommend, regarding about emotion, what you are feeling, as well as I have kind of like a multiple button at the top of the screen, like a sad, happy, calm, different kind of like a some emotion button. You click that emotion button, there is a kind of like a some artifact associated with that emotion button. You can listen things and that. Okay, this is how I kind of like recommend artifact to the people. All right, this is it. Thank you.